make it a point to learn. As Bob Proctor said, I said it earlier, if you get anything, gain understanding, and constantly steady. Start to operate at the frequency in which you want to get at. Stop being distracted. Stick to your routines.
Ask questions.
But just continue to see every time you wake up the beautiful opportunity we have in the world we live in today. Instead of focusing on all the sad, crappy stuff that goes on.
Just don't settle. Like, we can really become as much as we want to be. That is a different measurement for everyone. And people measure, success and all that in different ways. So identify what is most important to you and then commit to improving those areas. You can change your life in a very short amount of time. And that's one thing that I'm holding on strong to. Because like I said, like we talk about time and time again, we get on here and I love that we do this in full bloom. Like, I just love that too, because that's what, the audience is seeing. They're seeing us blooming in full bloom and working towards that. The more that you input, output, trial and error, you gain from each situation. So like I said, just don't settle, man. We all are human, right? We all want roughly the same things in life. Like, seriously, we all want the same things. We want healthy, right? We want to be able to spend time with our family. We want to be around loving people. We want good relationships. We don't want to stress. So we have to work towards those things.
I really break down the law of conservation. And I think of the analogy of when 1650, what the world looked like. Obviously, the world looked a lot different than it looks like now. Nothing was added to the earth. Nothing was brought in from outer space. Yeah. Nothing was brought in from some sort of extraterrestrial, whatever. Yeah. Absolutely everything we have, the house we're sitting in, the energy that's making this wall, the energy that forms this computer in front of me, was here in a different form, mind you, in 1950. Everything, all the energy that puts everything together nowadays has always been here on Earth. So how is that applicable to us? If everything is already here, all we need, Bob Proctor says this, all we need is the will to do so. When they asked JFK what it would take to put the man to the moon, the will to do so. And it says as simple as that. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the In Full Bloom Show, where personal growth meets the ever-changing world of trading and finance. My name is Quentin Gulliford. I'm along with my co-host and business partner, Marcus Williams. And in today's episode, it's going to be all about building a system for success. Or in other words, the power of routine in life and markets. We'll explore how consistent habits and structured routines can simplify decision-making, lower stress, and ultimately lead to better outcomes for both your trading game and personal development. Along the way, we'll touch briefly on emotional intelligence, because routines don't just shape what you do, they influence how you feel and respond under pressure. Here's the roadmap for today. First, we're going to look at the market pulse. We'll dissect the latest headlines on tariffs between the US, Mexico, and Canada, Deepseek's role in AI, and China's growing presence around the Panama Canal. Next, we'll get into our main segment of the episode. We'll deep dive into how systematic routines can be a game changer for traders, entrepreneurs, and anyone looking to level up their daily life. Following that, we'll look at tools of the trade. Practical tips to help you build and maintain those routines, making life simpler and more productive. Following, market sentiment spotlight. A look at current emotional and psychological drivers in the markets today and how routines help you navigate them. And finally, we'll close with our Bloom principle of the episode as always. And in this Bloom principle, we're going to look at the law of conservation and how that reminds us that the resources for success already exist. Your routine is how you tap into them. By the end of this episode, you have a clear game plan for building habits that align with your goals, reduce chaos, and create a solid framework for success in both trading and everyday life. Let's jump in. Good afternoon, Marcus. Welcome back to the Stew for another episode. We're going to start off with our market pulse. As always, Marcus, I'm going to bring up some hot market topics.
Fire away.
And we'll let you comment on them. We'll dive right in. Headline number 1, the tariffs between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. Really hot issue. Today's February 3rd, 2025. And our first headline centers on ongoing talks and disputes regarding tariffs among these 3 countries. Industries like automotive, steel, and agriculture remain in a tug of war over potential new duties and quotas. Some key insights: supply chain effects. If higher tariffs go through, we could see disruption in cost structures and profit margins for cross-border businesses. Investor takeaway: building a routine or staying informed, checking credible news sources daily, prevents knee-jerk reactions when headlines break. I'm going to scratch that part out. Marcus, what are your thoughts? What do you know about this tariff issue between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada?
I know that, we saw that earlier today. Canada, U.S. came to an agreement because of those tariffs. And where do I want to attack that? That's big. That's a broad question.
Yeah. So as far as the tariffs go, the easy thought is, the main investor thought is tariffs are inflationary. When you think about that, maybe we can attack it from that this pure economic, from the pure economic level. When it comes to tariffs and inflation, what's your analysis on that?
Yeah, so of course, initially, because as you stated in the intro to this topic, the increase in the products, and increase in that will happen because of the tariffs, and that's essentially inflationary. But in my opinion, just from what I understand about it, just the creation of, first of all, jobs that I believe that is going to come from it, because
jobs in the
United States, just because first of all, our deficit to these countries are insane, ridiculous. I think the number was 670 billion.
It's crazy.
Or something. Just crazy. For
anybody who doesn't know should look up that number.
It's crazy. Exactly. And so then you think about, okay, well, why is that number like that? And if we just start with Mexico, how are we in debt to Mexico?
Right.
And it is because, they just willingly import without any repercussion. And where are those imports coming from? They're coming from China mostly. And so those tariffs, when it boils down to it, I do think will have a long-term positive impact on the economy. But of course, indirectly, market sentiment, initial reaction it's definitely gonna hurt the economy. But just we have time and time again, I think we'll figure it out.
It's a very complex and dynamic issue.
Yeah,
which is the fact that I want to bring to light for people.
For sure.
And I feel like we've been able to follow this kind of tariff talk and obviously been following the markets for the past couple months, and previously. So, but certainly the markets have been strange, and certainly these tariff talks have drastically impacted the market, and I think specifically it's impacted the reactionary component of traders, of institutions, of hedge funds. We see, when something, Trudeau says something, or Mexico president says something, or Donald Trump in most cases says something, you'll see the immediate reaction of the market, and that's what's being looked at. And we should be looking at, kind of the bigger issues that are here at place. Staying politically neutral here, which we always try and do on this podcast. The American people, Trump won the popular vote. And what the American people wanted done in terms of immigration, in terms of the drug crisis, is being done. And so I look at the tariffs. It's a pure tactic of negotiation. And I think America, the Trump administration, wants to assure that Canada and Mexico are doing their part to keep illegals out of our country and manage the drug influx, particularly the fentanyl influx into the states.
Yeah.
Like those are real issues that we see living here in Phoenix, Arizona, a border state. We see these issues every day. I think anybody that lives here in Phoenix knows somebody has heard of a story or knows of something regarding a fentanyl overdosage. I remember when I was in high school, there was a high school football player. It was a big story. He overdosed on fentanyl, or he took drug laced with fentanyl, had fentanyl in it, killed him. And you hear those stories. Like, that's sad. Like, and that's things that directly affect us. So when I think of the tariffs, I align in the sense of, doing means to solve issues that the majority of the people want fixed. I think is a good move. But in terms of the tariffs and economically speaking, for me, yes, it could potentially raise prices of particularly stuff we import from Canada and Mexico. But like we said earlier, I think yesterday, Mexico, they said Mexico falls in line. They're not falling in line. They're just agreeing to partner with the U.S. to get something done. Yeah. There's no stacking order. Yes, the U.S. is the economic power, the global power. Everybody knows that. But again, I think of this as a pure business move. So if things continue to progress the way in following Canada today, President Trudeau, I saw his tweet earlier today regarding some of the stuff they're going to do on the northern side of things. And it's all really promising for things we want to get done here in the United States. We'll see. And certainly it'll definitely affect the Canadian economy and the people there. That's a real thing. So it's a very complex and dynamic issue.
Yeah. I even seen in 24 hours, I think, video I was really just watching from earlier this morning when Trump pulled back the tariffs on Mexico for 30 days. He said they're going to be meeting with China next 24 hours. So that'll be really interesting to see, because if you think about it, like, we don't even go down that, but that'll be, I'll keep my eyes peeled on that for sure. Yeah.
And my final thought before we move on to our headline number 2, the importance when we talk about these concepts, right? We're taking a very, we're a half step back of the thing that's going on. We're observing the bigger picture of these concepts. We're not taking any political side here. Yeah. We do our absolute best to objectively look at these things that go on, analyze them. Because if as Bob Proctor says, if you need anything, you need understanding, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build understanding, so ultimately we can continue to grow our businesses and grow, and work for our future selves. Essentially,
that was so profound. I just love that.
Headline number 2: Deepseek's AI impact. Have you heard of this? Me, Marcus, have definitely heard of this, and it was one of the most dramatic market reactions I've ever seen in my entire life. The new AI powerhouse Deepseek continues to attract major interest with its apparent cutting-edge analytics and predictive modeling. Rumors of a future IPO swirl as venture capitals pour in. Marcus, talk to me about, inform our listeners on what Deepseek is, and why, when Deepseek did what they did, the market reacted the way that it did.
Yeah, so from my understanding of what Deepseek is, it's just another AI, right? Just another type of augmented intelligence, similar to ChatGPT, similar to Gemini. You got Google Gemini. There's honestly so many different models that do a number of different things. And AI, Deepseek is just one of those, but of China's origin. And when they came out, I don't even know, like, did they announce that they're releasing an AI? I'm not even sure how they, like, emerged onto the scene. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really, they have an event or something like that, but I just know when I saw the charts that day, it was like the dollar had fallen out of the sky. And you think about, last week when we were talking about kind of that like crowd type of behavior, that was literally that in a nutshell, because I even used DeepSeek for a few days, and I only have the like $20 paid version of ChatGPT, and it wasn't even nearly as good as even the basic version. So that goes to show like that was purely off, oh my gosh, like China's emerging with this new tech, so I'm curious to see how they emerged and how it attracted those investors for sure.
And it's crazy because whatever institution would be in charge of doing this is doing this. They're looking into just how Deepseek in China got their hands on the chips because they and I can't speak on this super intelligently. I read an article and I remember.
Yeah.
But essentially, they were using a greater amount than their allotment for the NVIDIA chips.
Yeah.
So what the rumor would be, what they're looking into is if they illegally imported extra chips to get this project done. Because what their claim is that they could do what ChatGPT could do, even a little bit more, but with significantly less computing power.
Yes.
And they claim that they did it on like old technology with like a limited amount of resources.
Interesting.
Then you look in so they're looking into the organizations. And I apologize, listener, I can't remember what organization it is, but the United States Department of something is looking into the acquisition of an allotment of.
No,
chips.
I think I know because there was not the agency you're talking about, but it was probably months back when the original the U.S. put in place that China had a certain amount of access to those chips, or so I think cut off their access or something like that for NVIDIA exporting to China, right? And at that time, I saw that China was starting to basically access the technology from NVIDIA's chips through a cloud base. So I think that might be what it is because they weren't importing them. They were just still using their technology. So, and that, was not part of the agreement. So as far as like,
so it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I think this article speaks to just the technological war that is going on right now. If anybody doesn't know, there is a technological war going on.
Yeah.
United States, China, European Union, kind of dominate, being like the three heads of the major snake there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's like something like this. Who knows? This Deepseek could be, just some cover for China to tank the stock market that day and short off the S&P. I don't.
Yeah.
But I have come to be okay with the fact that crazy, crooked, sideways things happen every single day.
Oh yeah.
Particularly in wartime, which we're in. So again, it'll be very interesting to follow Deepseek in their continued development. Headline number 3 in our last headline of this Market Pulse segment. China's activity in the Panama Canal. Really touching on big topics today. China's expanded involvement near the Panama Canal raises questions about shipping lanes and potential shifts in global logistics. Control over major shipping corridors can significantly alter the speed and cost of shipping goods worldwide. Marcus, have you read anything about this?
I have not read anything, but the video. So I was watching today. What I was watching this morning was Trump was taking questions while he was signing some executive orders, and he went over the Panama Canal and how we gave that away years ago, and we used I don't remember if the number was 8,000 or 80,000, but it had an 8 in it for sure. Had to have been in terms of workers to put together the Panama Canal, right? And that is my speculation on what is going to be in the talks with China, because he had mentioned he was like we're going to get it back, and China's going to give it to us. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds, just because I know maybe that's like you said, a specific trade route. So when it comes to, once again, strengthening our economy, that would be a pivotal part. That's all I've got into as far as that.
And I'll walk us through a little bit here, then we'll move on. But people shouldn't forget, the Panama Canal is one of the biggest modern age projects ever in modern history. Massive project. I think like 70,000 people died.
Wow.
I think I'm over exaggerating that number. Let's call it between 40,000 and 70,000 people died in the construction of that, which was mostly done by, funded and done by the United States.
Yeah.
So the Panama Canal is a man-made waterway in Panama that connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, allowing ships to travel between them without going around South America, which would take forever. And it's a crucial route for global trade. Recently, there's been concern about China's involvement near the canal. The company from Hong Kong, operates 2 ports at both ends of the canal, and Chinese state-owned companies are building a bridge over it. Some U.S. officials worry that this could give China too much influence over this important passage. In response, Panama has decided not to renew its participation in China's global infrastructure plan, known as the Belt and Road Initiative. This move is seen as a way to reduce China's presence around the canal and strengthen ties with the United States.
Wow.
The U.S. has also expressed concern about China's role in the canal's operations. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited Panama and emphasized the need to limit China's influence in the area. In summary, while China has been involved in projects near the Panama Canal, recent actions by Panama and the U.S. aim to ensure that the canal remains neutral and free from excessive foreign control.
Wow. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, I got to get into that some more.
Crazy. Yeah, just some stuff first to look at. Like we said, if you need anything in life, it's understanding. These are things that would be good for us to understand if we want to navigate this world effectively and efficiently. So here we'll get into the in full bloom topic of the week: building a system for success. In this segment, we take a deeper look at all the principles and mindsets that help us flourish in life in the markets. And today we're going to focus on the power of routine. Marcus, we talk about routine all the time. Routines are a very important part of my life. And just the fact of making a routine and focusing on my routine is a very big part of my just day-to-day thought process. So I'll read a couple of things here, then we'll get on with the conversation. So why routines matter? Stress reduction, first off. By automating certain tasks, like checking market updates at the same time each day, or prepping your meals, or reading at this time of day, or going to the gym at this time, or whatever it is that's in your routine that you establish, you free up mental space. Thirdly, consistency. Whether you're trading stocks, Forex, or you're juggling life responsibilities, routines create a stable backdrop that help you handle volatility more calmly. And third, boosting emotional intelligence. And we're going to revert through back each one of these and talk about how these impact both Marcus and I's life and what we do. With emotional intelligence, it's worth noting that a predictable routine keeps emotional swings in check so you can respond more thoughtfully to surprise. Marcus, when you self-analyze and you introspect on your day-to-day life, your happenings, what you do, the things you got going on, the research, how important are routines for you in getting your things done?
Yeah, for it to be efficient, I think it's something I've noticed, because there's having a routine is something that I have been developing, and I've been trying to figure out my routine within my day to day, because it does differ. But finding a routine in the changing times, right, is kind of my focus, and those come down to the daily duties, especially when it comes to trading. We can refer to that, and back testing. That has to be, for me to continue to excel in my trading, that has to be something that is a part of my routine, because like you said, when it comes to the thought process, the familiarity with going over something over and over again, but doing it day after day, right? Not just a couple days a week and then, taking 3 or 4 days off, because all the progress you just made, you just went backwards, right? So when I self-reflect on my routine in general, it's not as good as it can be. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I have for that for now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I really like it. I think it's important for people to know and hear that your routine is ever changing.
Yeah.
Shit happens in our life that you can't just like get your new routine down in a day or two.
Yeah.
Like your routine, like I think of my life, like I feel like my life works in 2 to 3 year like segments where for 2 to 3 years I kind of have more or less the same routine. And fuck, each transitory period, like here I'll do a master's dental school. Those will be each new periods in which I have to find a new routine. I'm living somewhere new, new setup. Routines are ever changing. And I think what Marcus and I will emphasize as we continue to build into protocols, tools we use, in establishing a routine, the power in having a routine, establishing a routine is almost entirely in just the work you put in to establish a routine and stick to it.
Yeah.
And you're disciplined to the routine. Bob Proctor says discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and do it. So just the act of doing that, the personal development that happens to us by this seemingly little concept of just having a routine for your day and sticking to it, just what we can grow with in our patience, our discipline, our emotional intelligence, like we'll get into and brought up earlier. But routines for me is something that I am constantly thinking about. We'll get into specific tools that we use later, but just to bring perspective as to how important routines are for me. On my whiteboard in my room, I have written down my morning routine and my nighttime routine. And my goal every time I wake up, or when I think of my morning routine as the first hour of waking, and my nighttime routine is my last hour. And I truly do my best to just look at that and do it. Discipline. And I rotate it, and I raced it last night actually because I'm going to make new routines this week. The ones I had previously just didn't quite flow with me.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for is just the easy flow of things, because that's how things should be.
Yeah.
That's what for us to work most efficiently, effectively. We want things to just move like an engine, like a machine, like a factory. So I'm constantly looking for that. The routines I had written down on my board last week, I want to tweak them up a little bit. I want to add some stuff. So I'm going to do that. Like I said, that's just last week. And I'll just kind of turn things over and try new things and kind of experiment as well.
All in the same type of like categories though, just doing them all differently, right? Yeah, I definitely, because there's, like the routines are for what? They're for working towards that ultimate objective that we're trying to accomplish, that person we're trying to become, that, school we're trying to get into, et cetera, et cetera. So those routines will complement that over time and get you to that objective.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on the stress reduction aspect of a routine? Do you find that, when you have a good routine going, you feel less stressed?
Oh, yeah. Because that's something you don't even have to really think. That's like a part of the process you don't have to think about. Like, you're going to do X, Y, and Z at this time of the day. You're off by an hour or so, but you have already been thinking about that in deeper detail the closer and closer you get to that time. Once you have your routine established, like, a few things for me, right? One thing that's in my routine is to read 30 minutes a day, right? So every day that I read 30 minutes a day, like, you just feel more accomplished that you stuck to your routine, and you're really able to think through, I feel like, just problems more because you stuck to your routine. And like, maybe that's just me and how that's just my brain works. But when I stick to something, like you said, you give yourself a command, and you do that, you're not thinking about the things that you should be doing any longer because you've executed on the things in your routine. So you're just thinking about things on a deeper level. Can't really get to the exact point that I'm trying to get to, but
No, it's all good. And it was still enlightening, what you said. You verified for us that, having your routine, sticking to your routine, it does reduce stress. I'll just say that. It does. You take it from us. Experiment for yourself. But Marcus, what you were touching on to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's the dopamine involved, dopamine nation. And whenever you accomplish something on your routine and you stick to it, like, I did it. I got that. Cool. And if you continue to do the next right thing, you do that, you get that done in your routine on Monday, Tuesday you get it done, Wednesday, and you then develop momentum is what I think you were talking about. And it's a small accomplishments that allow you to gain momentum. Then I'll add here that when it comes to building our routines, how do we look at that? What does that look like? How do I know what's a good thing to have in my routine? When I think of that, Marcus, I'll get your perspective here. Whatever I have a handful of things that I'm looking out to either do or be as a person.
Yes.
So when it comes to my routines, I look forward to where I want to be, and this is me. Bob Proctor's talking to me right now. This is me operating at and living at the frequency in which I want to be at and live in. So when I'm building my routines, I'm going to do little things. Okay, I want to have $100 million fund and have a growing oral surgery practice that does about $10 million a year. I want to do that. What little things can I do each day to get a little bit closer to that? I want to be a more patient person. That's something I've worked on. I'm a pretty patient, very patient person, but I feel like internally I'm still impatient, if that makes sense. I'm very good at not expressing my impatience. Yeah. But I want to just make it more whole. So what can I do each morning, night, just a little thing to be more patient down the line? I'm doing things that will allow me to operate at the frequency in which I want to operate at and live in. Marcus, bring us into your process of establishing something in your routine. Is it a highly selective process as far as what you put in your routine? What does that kind of look like?
I would say I'm kind of in the same realm as you. Like when I think about the person that's really the main focus that I want to become, I know it comes down to really a few things, and those things done over time. And no matter what task I dedicate those things to, but they will all fall under the same category, right? So something in my routine is back testing. Okay, why do I want to back test each day? Because I want to be a damn good trader. I don't want to have any conflicting thoughts when I'm entering my trades, exiting my trades, going against my plan. I don't want to have any of that. So to be able to improve that, along with engaging with the live markets, need a back test. That's in my routine. Why do I want to trade? Because I want, a source of income, like source of financial freedom, kind of owning my time there, or buying back my time, as Myron Golden would put it. And so the discipline is what I want to, like what I want to be. I want to have a discipline. I feel like I'm not as disciplined as I can be. I let myself off the hook too much, with certain things, and that trickles into other areas, so that's kind of where I start, just, at the person that I want to become. And sometimes you just got to get honest with yourself, most of the time, let me say, and say, what do I need to work on? What, where can I be better? I feel like being a better listener is something that as well, I really can't put that into my routine, but something that's in my daily routine is podcasts. Things like that, to where I need to not just let it be background noise, really get something from it. Listening, having conversations with people, really get something from that. So to revert it back, when I think about what goes in my routine, I just revert back to, okay, who do you want to be, right? Because it's going to show in your routine, essentially, because it's who you become. So,
yeah, I love it. And before we get into our protocols and the segment we call Tools of the Trade, I'll just bounce off Marcus here. And when it comes to, establishing our routines, I highly recommend just as Marcus said, skip back 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it is, and listen to him just walk through how he works through establishing something in his routine. It's all highly logical. It's just work through the thought process, work through where you want to be, where you want to go. And I'd say be introspective and constantly self-analyze. Another Bob Proctor concept there. Like Marcus said, be honest with yourself. The old phrase, meet yourself where you're at. Just self-analyze. What do I want to get better at? Okay, I want to be, simply, I want to be a better reader. Okay, how can I be a better reader? All right. I feel like I don't have enough time to read every day. Something always comes up. Okay, I'm going to commit 10 minutes in the morning. Get it done first hour, get it done. I'm going to see if I can stick to that, see if that works for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, for me, I just find stuff that makes my life as smooth and easy as possible, still accomplishing the things I want to get done. So if I face any type of resistance, I'll go experiment something else, do something. If that doesn't work, bam. And hopefully, I do think one day I'll have just a very generalized major routine that I stick to. I feel like a lot of people get like that when they get older. They just kind of have their way of going about things. I'm still in this place where I'm still building that.
You're finding the flow.
Finding the flow and continuing to build and build until I'm at that frequency where I want to go. Then of course, once I get there, personal development never stops. We'll keep pushing from there.
No, let me even use the analogy of like a professional athlete, right? When you're talking about, I love what you're saying about you want to just be smooth and easy, because a routine, like your pregame routine, it puts you into, like, it just flows right into your game. Mm-hmm. Like a routine, so it shouldn't ever feel like daunting, like a daunting task of when it comes to you. Now, that initial thing, time you start that routine, it may feel a little daunting because you've never done it before. You've never stuck to your routine, but literally start with one task a day. I feel like Duolingo is something that convicts me of not being disciplined. It's literally on my phone every day, and I will see that thing go to freeze. I'm like, bro, that was yesterday? I'm like, oh, I thought I did it. And then I'm like, all right, let me lock in. But yeah, just start with one thing and then build from there. VXT.
Always. Moving into our next segment, here we're going to get into, and we kind of touched on it in the previous segment there, but just typical protocols and tools that we use and implement for us to fine tune our routines. On my list sitting here in front of me, I have a list of things in which I'm going to read off here, and then me and Marcus will fine tune the conversation to each other individually. So now we'll talk about practical strategies for building routines that actually stick in the context of our conversation in this podcast. First off, daily market check-in. Set a specific time daily, say 30 minutes before market open. If you're trading stocks, if you're trading Forex, just pick a time, anytime, 24/5 market, 23/5 market. Just to review headlines. This routine ensures that you're not scrambling when surprises hit. This is certainly something I do that is in my routine, daily routine, which we'll get into, like I said. Secondly, categorize tasks. Break your tasks into certain buckets, maybe. Okay, I got to do market research. I have to do stuff for the family budget, groceries. I got to do taxes, work, business, podcast. Kind of categorize, put that stuff into little bins and baskets, and start to just kind of build there. Things can get so intermingled, so complex. The more things you have going on, things can get really confusing. Simplify it out. Organize yourself into buckets. Use a whiteboard, piece of paper, whatever it is. Very, very useful strategy there that I, in fact, use every single day. Thirdly, we can use automation and tools, just certain things on our phone, alerts, reminders, alarms, that will allow us to stay informed of something we're supposed to get done. Again, really easy thing for us to get done depending on, what the certain activity is, routine is, or like I said, whatever you want to get done there. And then, like we said, fourthly, review and adjust. Yeah. Our routine is constantly evolving. Never feel bad for wanting to change your routine, remove this, add this. Feel free to have autonomy when it comes to adjusting your routine. So again, first off, it was daily market check-in. Secondly, categorize tasks. And 3, automation and tools. And 4, review and adjust. Marcus, we'll talk about just some of the tools we use. Mm-hmm. I think they filter nicely into these 4 components here that I prefaced the segment with. When it comes to tools you use, be it mental faculties or something on your computer, when it comes to developing your routine, what are some tools and protocols you can inform the listeners on?
Yeah, one thing that I really like that I adopted from you actually is the whiteboard. The whiteboard and just visually seeing that each day for me, it allows me to really compartmentalize things in my brain for what I should be doing. I use Google Tasks, something that I actually came back to, just for the little tasks, like tasks, literally something that I can just get done, or that I'm thinking, I'm like, boom, oh wait, I need to do that. Boom, put it in Google Tasks so that I know, like, if I got 30 minutes at home or an hour at home and I'm not really doing much, let me look at my phone, let me see what tasks I haven't done today. Boom, knock them out, boom, accomplish that. So the whiteboard's a big one. So I have a whiteboard in my garage that is pretty much like my objective board. I won't call it a vision board. I'll call it an objective board. And it has in the middle, it has like my weekly focuses, and like those don't really change because my weekly focuses are contributing to my like quarterly goals that I have on the right side. So everything is intermixed, but every day, right, I walk by that and I see it probably, 10 to 15 times a day, just naturally walking in and out of the garage or whatnot, laundry, car, or whatever it may be. And then inside, like by my computer, I have another whiteboard that has similar to those tasks on my phone, but these are more specific tasks. Maybe it's trading oriented, sometimes it's business oriented, but it'll be normally one of the two. But like you said in there, the putting stuff in buckets is really, really worked for me because I'm somebody that also used to get so many tasks, bro, like messed, like it just tangled up. Like I was like, I gotta do this, and this, and like they're not even for the same type of objective. So buckets, business, family, trading, right, personal health, that's gym, reading, all of that's in there, and just making sure I'm dipping into each of those buckets each day, because that's contributing to that ultimate objective that I'm trying to get to.
And once you kind of disperse things out into bins, you realize like it's only two to five things in each thing that you want to get done and accomplish. Okay. And it just paints a really good picture. Here I'm talking to the effectiveness of using a whiteboard, but whatever medium it is, that just to help you visually break things apart. Like Marcus said, he has this whiteboard for this whiteboard for this. He looks at that whiteboard for this and that other whiteboard for that. That works for him. For me, it's same way. I have my whiteboard that, I know I'm not sticking to my routines when my whiteboard's not updated. So at this point, like just me updating my whiteboard is a routine in itself. And when it comes to the whiteboard, I encourage everybody to look up mathematicians and their usage of whiteboards. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to leave that there. Whiteboards are a very big part of the way mathematicians work and operate. I definitely encourage anybody to look that up. We won't get into that right now, though. But for me, when it comes to just developing my routine, how I construct it, my routine, most of the time I can knock out my entire routine in like 30 minutes. Yeah. And that's what I want to do. Just some things that off my mind, like in the morning, I want to read for 20 minutes, do 50 push-ups, take my vitamins, hydrate. That's a couple of things. But if you think about those 4 things, I can get that done in 30 minutes, 25 minutes. Bam, knock it out. So when I wake up now, like my focus and my intention, and I'm not perfect. Not every day do I get to do this. Do I do it exactly how I want to execute it, getting it done first 30 minutes. Sometimes I'm a little bit slow getting out of bed. or I'm hungry, so I want to eat.
Those days that do you notice like how the day unfolds? Those days that you are late, are getting, do you think let's call it result of that day or morning, is it different?
So for me, I think initially it would kind of throw me off. I'm like, damn, I didn't get it done in the morning.
Yeah.
But now I look at it like I just want to get it done and accomplished today. It's like now I have a morning routine and a nighttime routine, but I also have just like a daily routine of stuff I want to get done. So like my morning routine, there's a couple little things I knock out in the first 30 minutes of my day. My nighttime routine, bam, quick, 30 minutes and done. My daily routine is just things I want to do every day. I want to observe the market for 1 hour. And before that session, I establish what that session is for. I detach that from my trading time. So I'm doing research back testing. That's something I want to do every single day. That's speaking to our daily market check-in. So I have the goal every day to look at the market, check in on it, just to stay caught up with everything that's going on, continuing to build my relationship with the markets in which I trade. So when it comes to my morning and night routine, those things are honestly so easy.
Yeah.
And things that I have found just put me on track. Like one's make my bed, 25 push-ups, 20 minutes of reading. Actually, and I moved it down to 10 minutes because I found on the previous week I had it at 20. I just remember there was 1 or 2 days where I was like, damn, I just don't really have 20 minutes. I could use that 20 minute, that extra whatever time to do. So I just had a little bit of a resistance there. So okay, I'm gonna move it down to 10.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that. So my morning and night routine are just super easy, and those now I just kind of flow with. Make my bed, drop down, do a couple push-ups. Now I've added just some back rehab. Now I'm working on some core lower back strength here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my daily routine and things I want to do every day, and these kind of speak more towards my bigger goals and things I want to do and achieve. I just have to get those done within the span of the day.
Hear that?
And I call it good. So even like within my routines, I kind of have bins for each of my routines.
Yeah.
Morning, night, and kind of like a whole day. It took me a while to kind of get through. I apologize.
Nah,
But hopefully it was kind of insightful
Yeah.
for kind of the way I operate.
No, for sure. I was gonna ask you too, because when our listeners when they're listening in to us, right? I want them to really know how simple we can really make things, but we're still here. Some days we do complicate things for ourselves by not following our routines and so on and so forth. But you said you went from 20 minutes of reading, because we know how big reading is. We hear it from Bob Proctor, I'm sure, talks about it a ton. Damn near any successful person you hear in present time or in past time talks about how important reading is. So you went from 20 to 10 minutes. How much do you get out of the 10 minutes of reading, and because when we think about VXT, we know, 10 minutes over 365 days.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot. You're gonna read a handful of books, which, just talk a little bit about how you're able to like build value out of 10 minutes, because we all got 10 minutes. I know we all have 10 minutes. So
yeah, no, for sure. And what I like about my 10 minute timeline that I found is usually I go about 15, 16.
Yeah.
So I'm like, damn, I'll do a little bit more, because it feels like, damn, I just started reading. So I'll go a little bit more, push past it a little bit, and then I'll stop. And it really just comes down to VXT and the reasoning of us having a routine and doing this every single day. I'm stacking good days and good days. I don't have to read 100 pages today.
Yeah.
I can get just as much out of the book for 10 minutes over the span of 365 days consistently. I'll get more out of the book doing it that way than I would reading the book in a week and reading 50 pages a day, whatever book it is. But I really like this, what I'm going to bring up here from Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale as well. And it's just in terms of sitting on a concept and studying a concept, not just reading. So this is also kind of adjustment I've made in my reading practice.
Yeah.
I want to just fully understand what I'm reading as I go on. And with the books I'm reading now, once I finish it, I'm gonna restart it.
Yeah.
And restart it only for particular books.
Yeah.
And something I've also implemented is audiobooks.
Okay.
So I have
the same book you're reading physically.
So no,
or new audiobook.
No,
okay.
I'm approaching this from a lot of angles here.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do with the book I'm listening to right now, the Science of Getting Rich. I've listened to it in hopes that it would inspire me in a way to get the physical book and read it.
Okay.
And just continue to build understanding of the concepts in this book. I think it's any book I'll only read books I feel are important for me to understand.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands of really important books, really good books. So I'm not like restricting the amount of books I'm going to read. I just only want to read ones that have value.
Yeah.
But sitting with that concept and listening to it, reading it, taking notes, and putting these concepts, the science of getting rich, how I can change my paradigm and adjust my paradigm. I want that to be a part of me. I want to build that in myself. I don't want to just read this concept. Yeah. So I found, utilizing the 10-minute mark for me allows me to not feel like, I got 20 minutes to read. And I know like this is all subjective because 20 minutes really isn't that long of time. Yeah. Yes, a lot of times I go for 20 minutes and sometimes I sit down for 25. But I just have that baseline at 10. So I get that done, dopamine, bam, got that done for the day. Continuing to build momentum. Like I said, felt a little resistance with the 20, moved it down, thought about it a little bit.
I mean, because at the end of the day, what I love about that, you said 20 minutes, not that long. We have so many different type of like, let's call them enigmas per se, around like the littlest things that deter us from doing certain things, So I just love that the 10 minutes because I feel like I have to do at least like 20 to 30 because I read slow. I read slow. Sometimes I got to read the same line again and again to really, what did he just say? And read it again. But no, I listened to Myron Golden's video like a year ago on how to read books, how he reads books specifically. And to your point, reading it, going back over it, that's kind of something I'm adopting. So I'm reading it. As I'm reading it, I'm highlighting nice, good stuff that I was like, man, that was good right there. Yeah. Then I'm going to go back and read my highlighted portions and take notes on those highlighted portions and how like what I think about that. And that process is going to be even longer than me reading probably. You know what I'm saying? But once again, when I go through that, that'll be something we build into the routine, right? 10 minutes a day going through this book, yada, yada, yada. I do like your audiobook approach as well, just because, how much money will we probably waste if we just bought every book? Now, I won't say waste because you can find value in everything, but in terms of, listening to that audiobook, oh, wow, that's really profound. I really like that. Oh, let me get the book, and go on from there. So, I like that approach.
Yeah, so that's been, the audiobooks have been my gym listen over the past couple weeks. So that's been mostly where I've been getting.
And you, I'm assuming, you hear something good, you take a note or two.
Oh yeah. I got a note pulled up right in front of me.
Nice.
Called Principles. This is where I generate our own principles from.
Yeah.
The last two I've written is constantly reevaluate who you are. You have to believe that there is something incredible in you. Like I have a bunch of stuff. So anytime I hear something profound, I write it down with the audiobooks. If I'm reading, like in my Think and Grow Rich here.
Yeah. Think and Grow Rich.
Hopefully you can see this. I have like bracket. I had a pen. So I just kind of bracketed some text.
Yeah.
So when I'm reading and I see something profound, I'll go back over it, sit with it, and continue on.
Yeah, man, I freaking love that.
And I'll just read what I just opened up to randomly. Hold on, I'm gonna spit some of this out from little Think and Grow Rich game,
please,
from Mr. Napoleon Hill here. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired money. Next, never has there been, especially now, goddamn, it's so great an opportunity for practical dreamers as now. There's never been a greater opportunity than now. Definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of one wants, and a burning desire to purpose it. In the preface or on the back of this book, Napoleon Hill mentions that the main thing in this book is stated in every chapter. I mean, he doesn't say what it is, but I think this is what it is. Definiteness of purpose. What do we need to think and grow rich? It's definiteness of purpose. And last one on the page, success requires no apologies, failure permits no alibis. There's a couple things. Anytime I see that, anytime I read something, hear something profound, I'll jot it down, highlight it. And I let those things stick with me, man.
And man, it's just, I just got to talk about for a second how important it is that we do stuff like that, because we are very subconscious acting beings. Like, we do so much out of stuff we've learned years ago, heard years ago. Like, just because we heard it so many times then, the compounding effect of it, VXT, of it, even of the bad stuff, quote unquote, right? And so the little thing that you're doing, listening to a video, something that first of all, we're going to be listening to music anyway, or some type of audio in the gym. So why not it be something that is refueling our subconscious or rewiring it in most of our cases? But then you consciously jot down a note of something that was profound to you, right? Something you may have not heard before, and you're like, wow, I really felt that. And then it's just a constant cycle. And so when we're talking about routine, that is also a routine. Like, when you listen to a podcast or a YouTube video, in your routine, listening to that, you jot down stuff because it contributes to you growing. It just all starts to just do the weave, the 3-man weave. Yes.
And it came all together full circle for me. Yeah. We'll move on to our next segment.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is exactly what Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, what they're telling us when it comes to our paradigm. This studying, taking notes, this is the way we can change and elevate our paradigm. Change your paradigm, change your life. Your paradigm, again, is your habitual way of living, right? And so if we want to elevate if we want to operate and live at a certain frequency, our paradigm has to get there.
Yeah.
And taking notes and studying and looking at this stuff is a way for us to build these super profound concepts within us, within our paradigm. And then that's us being in harmony with what we want and who we want to become. It's so beautiful. And Jim Rohn, along with Bob Proctor, all these concepts, man, it's just so profound, and certainly things that we would all benefit from putting in our own paradigm.
For sure.
Moving on to our next segment, Market Sentiment Spotlight. In this segment, we'll talk about our own sentiment, both Marcus and I, some things we're looking at, curious about, and we'll talk about just some of our failures and successes over the past couple of days in our trading. Marcus, when you look at your involvement with the financial markets over the last couple of weeks, last couple of days, what's your current sentiment on the market, and bring us into your involvement a little bit?
Sentiment on the market, I think, is a lot of uncertainty still, just when it comes to the tariffs and everything, just because the U.S. kind of makes the whole thing go round. And so, I have seen just a lot of, honestly, choppy price sometimes, but then I have seen some good movement in both directions. So I would say it still hasn't really found its flow, we'll call it. And I think, after, this meeting with China, with the US, and I have some other economic indicators. I want to say the ECB, the European Central Bank, has something coming out of maybe for their interest rates. But after we kind of get through just all this back and forth. I think it's what is it like? Trump promised like the first 120 days he's gonna do a bunch of crazy things or whatever the case may be. But after we get out of that, I think we'll see some smooth direction, whatever the case may be. In my personal opinion, I think the dollar is going to start to fall a little bit in terms of, not in a bad way, but with Japan, they recently hiked their interest rates. That's a country that I follow with expectations for hikes in the future as well, to just try to bring some appreciation to their currency. We got the freaking what's going on over there? The treaty happened in the Middle East, so those tensions seem to have eased. And then we'll see what's going on. I'm not sure what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. I don't know how that's going right now.
I'm not familiar.
But yeah, like the gold market, I see the gold market continuing its upward slope just because of that uncertainty. It's just like, you can rely on gold, So we're almost to that 3K range now. So yeah, that's I have some more thoughts on it. I'll let you get to it, but it's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and you brought up something that I want you to expand on real quick. Why would devaluing the U.S. dollar? You mentioned you might see the U.S. dollar drop down, but not in a bad way. Yeah. It might be confusing. Why would that be an effective, intentional strategy for the United States to devalue the U.S. dollar?
Just because it would be beneficial for trade. So with this 25% tariff. So let's say 25% tariffs goes on. That means it's going to cost that much more to import products. But if the dollar is worth less, right, then now they can still import the same amount of products for less, or they can import more products for the amount that they would have imported when the dollar was at with the current buying power that it had. So that's kind of why I say because we ultimately look down when we're looking at the dollar, like, damn, it's, we're losing buying power, and that essentially kind of looks bad. But once again, looking at it from like a bird's eye, looking at it from a whole, the worst part about the U.S. economy is our debt, man, and it comes from China, Canada, Mexico, and Europe. So that has to once that bridge gets closed, then we may see, our dollar increase a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of why. Just all speculation, right? It's kind of my perspective on it.
And that gets right into, kind of some of my thoughts, some of my sentiment here. And people, like, to Marcus's point, are uncertain, and there's a very, very, very high propensity right now for impulsive and highly reactionary moves. One thing happens, and even news will make something seem like the biggest deal, making the markets react, when really Deepseek.
Yeah.
Okay, the worst case scenario, Deepseek does have some revolutionary technology. They're not doing anything that America won't be able to develop within the next 6 months. Yeah. Why is everybody deciding to sell at the market and they think China is going to rule the AI war? Yeah, it's just to see people react, industries funds react to that, just speaks to the time we're in right now and just the uncertainty. And to Marcus's point, in the next 3 to 6 months, we should see some steadying, if you will, once Trump gets a lot of this early stuff done. Yeah, and we kind of see just how some of these new things going on stick, and the way they're executed, we'll see. And just kind of moving on from that. So again, really uncertain time, really choppy price action. I mostly trade XAU USD. I thought of an analogy the other day when it comes to XAU USD. XAU USD is like the hot girl that you want to go after, that you commit, is yours. Yeah. Like, you want that to be your girlfriend. You want XAU USD to give you everything in the world, but it's a stubborn bitch. And XAU USD is telling you, you got to continue to build the relationship with me, even though I hate you and want to take all your money. So that's my sentiment on XAUSD.
Yeah.
XAUSD is a motherfucker. Excuse my language, but in all seriousness, the XAUUSD, the gold market, XAUUSD is gold US dollar forex currency pair. XAU, the gold market is a very, very dynamic market. So unlike, when it comes to our other currency pairs, like UJ, USD, JPY, GBP, USD, AUD, USD, where we can use the DXY, where we can use the US dollar to really help kind of trace price action on our currency pairs. Man, you fall into a trap if you do too much of that with XAU USD. I have found.
Yeah.
With the gold market, it's very complex and dynamic. And I have committed to just understanding the gold market because of how impactful, how large, how integrated in every economy gold, physical gold, the thought of gold is in the world we live in and always has been.
True.
Gold is this rushing dynamic market that is very, very volatile. So when I think of the gold market, I separate it from my analysis on XAU USD in a way. Of course, the US dollar will always have impact. It's XAU USD after all. But what I'm trying to do now is just understand how certain geopolitical events, certain countries doing this impact gold price. We'll see where gold goes. Gold got to new all-time highs today. Was able to, after reaching all-time highs yesterday, and it's crazy. I think it won't be too long before we see gold reach 3K.
Yeah.
And even though we might see some strength in the reserve component of the US dollar, gold will always be seen as, okay, when something crazy happens, money's being poured into gold, no matter what's going on with the US dollar. So tensions in the Middle East, maybe that affects the DXY a little bit, but then you see the gold market going crazy. So just some of my thoughts there on XAUSD. I got to ranting a little bit. But yeah, gold is the market that I have committed to mastering because I think the abundance on the other side is absolutely phenomenal. But then some of the other pairs, I haven't traded any other pairs in a while, but I do have on my chart, I watch Euro USD and USD JPY along with XAU USD. So I'm following those markets as well. Of course, and then for those ones, I get to use my DXY analysis to help me there. Yeah.
And to your point about the gold market too, now we even have something which is all speculative, with potentially crypto-backed gold, right? And one thing that I noticed, we talked about this a little bit ago, is the gold reserves have continuously been increasing for countries, so, just putting those together, man, that gold, when you look at it on the weekly or the monthly, it's just so crazy. It's just crazy. And then I wanted to actually bring it back to what you said a little bit earlier. We brought up CAD, and we were just talking about news, right? And we even saw today the freaking tanking of, and that wasn't even, that was like, what did you see? It was a tweet or something like that about?
Yeah, so today Justin Trudeau met with President Trump.
Yeah.
And when I read the text, he had tweeted what the term, what they're going to do alongside the United States. A tweet, probably around 3:30 p.m. Arizona time.
Yeah, and at that time,
immediately,
literally that thing was tanking. So, but that was off of pure just behavior, like sentiment, like that, and which is gonna bring me to something else really quick. But and so, because we were talking about a second ago, all right, so if it was like a $1.8 billion thing CAD had, okay, that means they're gonna be spending that much money, which means if there's that much more money in circulation, then in hindsight should devalue their currency. But we were seeing like literally the complete opposite at the moment of when that was happening. So like those two things are not in conjunction with one another, which makes me think about if we study, kind of market behavior and that psychology, that sentiment aspect, the institution's got to be doing it right on a crazy level because the amount of data they have available. So this is just I'm saying this to say get familiar with the fundamentals and the macros because it truly simplifies the noise because there is a lot of it, especially right now. So
yeah, and real quick, I have Prime Minister, soon to be former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's tweet put up in front of me, just so our listeners can continue to gain context on this U.S.-Canada relationship. So I read and I quote, "I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. And I have also signed a new intelligence directive on organizing crime and fentanyl, and we will be backing it with $200 million. Proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together."
You know what I'm thinking about too, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but it's hard to. I just gotta hold myself back sometimes. Gotta hold myself back. But I saw a tweet from I think it was Trump about again trying to propose 51st state of Canada. So hearing these treaties and these agreements from the Boers and the czars and the U.S. I'm like, are they lining something up right now? So that definitely interesting to see how this is going to unfold for sure.
It's a very interesting time. And what I'll leave people with before we get into our Bloom principle here.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, focus on the opportunity. There's, like Marcus said, there's so much noise. There's so much to be caught up about, particularly socially. And just some of the issues that honestly don't affect our daily life that much. Yes, they probably affect somebody else, and we, being loving, caring human beings, we want the best for everybody.
Yeah.
But as a human being, for our own sake, focus on the abundance of opportunity we have in the world we live in today. There's no better time to be alive than today, no matter what you may think, no matter what you see on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, there's no better time to be a living, breathing human being than right now. So through all the things we talk about, through all the tariff disputes, the technological war, the technology war, make it a point to learn. As Bob Proctor said, I said it earlier, if you get anything, gain understanding, and constantly steady, as we talked about when it comes to the books. Start to operate at the frequency in which you want to get at. Stop being distracted. Stick to your routines.
Ask questions.
But just continue to just see every time you wake up the beautiful opportunity we have in the world we live in today. Instead of focusing on all the sad, crappy stuff that goes on. Moving on to our last segment. Here we're going to introduce our world-famous Bloom principle. So in this Bloom principle segment, we're going to unlock the secrets to unleashing your inner genius. Today, I want you to embrace a truth that can revolutionize your life. Everything, absolutely everything you need to achieve greatness is already here within you and all around you. For those who are familiar, this is the law of conservation. Think back to physics, science. We come from perfection. Perfection lives inside each and every one of us. That means you're truly not missing anything except that spark, that burning desire to set your inner brilliance into motion. Imagine for a moment that the same creative force that crafted the universe is at work inside of you. Bob Proctor reminds us that this isn't wishful thinking. It truly is a fact. Every tool, every resource, every ounce of potential you need to transform your life already exists. Nothing is created nor destroyed. It's not about acquiring more money, more time, or more talent. It's about tapping into the perfection you already possess and daring to let it shine. Now, ask yourself, what am I waiting for? The only thing holding you back is the hesitation to activate that desire, that powerful decision to move forward with unwavering intent. When you recognize that you are already complete, that every resource for success is right here, you shift from questioning, do I have what it takes, to declaring, how can I make it happen? This is the moment to step out, to ignite that inner fire, and to transform your dreams into reality. When you combine a deep belief in your inherent perfection with the bold desire to act, you become unstoppable. So today, commit to tapping into that infinite well of potential you have. Let your desire fuel your actions and watch as the world around you responds in kind. Remember, everything you need is already here, and all it takes is the decision to unleash it. Now go out there, ignite your passion, and let your perfection shine through. That's the power of the Bloom Principles. So with that, Marcus, that brings us to the closing bell, but I want to hear your thoughts and perspective on this law. You brought up Myron Golden talks about this law of conservation along with the other physical laws.
Yeah, it's funny because he actually hasn't brought that one up yet, but he talks a lot about awareness, and that is the only lack we have. Like, there's not the lack of opportunity, it's the lack of awareness, and ever since I started just harping on that more. Now there's a law, like there's a physics principle. I'm like, bro, what? The physics is, physics and life. I love how those intertwine. But no, I've reflected with this one a lot just because, I've made excuses for the opportunity or lack thereof over the course of my life. Primarily just, in my 20s and whatnot. It's been there. Like, the opportunity has been there. It's just like the awareness, and the really the maturity to know that there are things you can, like you said, you don't need the money. You don't need there's nothing more that you need. You just really need to look at what you have. Mm-hmm. Because you can do something with what you have to then acquire more. So now you have access to that, and then you just go from there. But man, you can always work with what you have, and even if it's nothing, and you rarely have nothing. Oh yeah, right. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I really love that principle. Actually, I'm glad that it's another physics principle. It makes me even more attracted to it. So.
Oh, for sure. And me being a science guy, I really break down the law of conservation. Well, just how you learn about it, on a physical, a biological level. Yeah. And I think of the analogy of when in 1650, what the world looked like. Obviously, the world looked a lot different than it looks like now. Nothing was added to the earth. Nothing was brought in from outer space. Yeah. Nothing was brought in from some sort of extraterrestrial, whatever. Yeah. Absolutely everything we have, the house we're sitting in, the energy that's making this wall, the energy that forms this computer in front of me, was here in a different form, mind you, in 1950. In none of this here is new, in a sense. Everything, all the energy that puts everything together nowadays has always been here on Earth. So how is that applicable to us? Well, if everything is already here and there's perfection in us, all we need, Bob Proctor says this, all we need is the will to do so. That's all we need. That's all we need. Nothing is created nor destroyed. Everything we need is already here. To state that again, all we need is the will to do so. I brought up in the last podcast we did, I forget which one exactly, but when they asked JFK what it would take to put the man to the moon, the will to do so. And it's as simple as that. So that brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to the closing bell, our final segment of this fine episode. And so we'll recap here in our market pulse segment. We talked about tariff negotiations, Deepseek's AI developments, and China's activities near the Panama Canal, and how all those, throughout the conversation, we talked about how those things will inevitably stir the markets. But again, through our routine, we can develop a system to allow us to stay informed and composed of everything that's going on in the markets. These aren't things that's hard to follow. My FX book, Forex Factory. Look up Reuters doom scroll, as we like to say. But just stay involved, continue to build your relationship with the markets, and you'll inevitably catch up and truly understand what's going on. In our main segment of this episode, in our Info Bloom segment of the episode, we talked about building a consistent system for success, routines. They reduce stress, improve decision-making, and provides a steady foundation for dealing with volatility. Next, in our tools of the trade, Marcus and I brought up a couple of things we like to do. Hopefully you guys gained a couple of things out of there. Would love to hear some of your guys' routines, how you go about your routines in the comments below. But from daily market check-ins to organizing tasks into bins, find the rhythm that works for you and just stick with it. Don't hold yourself, don't beat yourself up if you have to change something in your routine. Like I said, I change my routine almost weekly, it seems, and inevitably getting to a place where it just flows easy. I have no resistance. I'm in harmony with it. And finally, we talked about our Bloom principle, where we reminded us that everything you need to operate at the frequency you want to be at and live in is already inside of you and all around you. Marcus, before I close this up, do you have any retiring comments for today's episode? It was a good one. I like.
Yeah, this was a really good one, actually. Just don't settle. Like, we can really become as much as we want to be. Now, that is a different measurement for everyone, and people measure, success and all that in different ways. So identify what is most important to you, and then commit to improving those areas. Just because you can change your life in a very short amount of time, and that's one thing that I'm holding on strong to. Because, like I said, like we talk about time and time again, we get on here, and I love that we do this in full bloom. Like, I just love that too, because that's what the audience is seeing. They're seeing us blooming in full bloom, and working towards that. So do something for a consistent period, and then refine it, reflect. Did I even improve this area of my life? Okay, throw that out, and then just keep going. But the more that you input, output, trial and error, you gain from each situation. So like I said, just don't settle, man. We all are human, right? We all want roughly the same things in life. Like, seriously, we all want the same things. We want healthy, right? We want to be able to spend time with our family. We want to be around loving people. We want good relationships. We don't want to stress. So we have to work towards those things. So yes, that's all I got.
I love it. Marcus there reminds us, remain introspective. And I like this. I can't remember where I got this from, but be a scientist Not in the sense of, pouring chemicals together and, organic chemistry lab or chemistry lab like you did in high school. Not necessarily like that, but be a scientist with yourself, within yourself. Explore new concepts. And to Marcus' point, continue just to find, refine, build. If you have a routine, you don't like it, switch it up. But just sit with something for a week, 2 weeks. See if you like it, see if you want to adapt it, and move on from there. Since you're a scientist, use the scientific method. If you don't know the scientific method, look it up. You should know what the scientific method is, at least the general structure of it. But form a hypothesis, design an experiment for yourself. Experiment, observe, and form a conclusion. And just constantly rinse and repeat that method with everything that you do, particularly when it comes to developing our routines. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this episode, share with a friend or colleague who you might think might benefit from a little bit more structure in their life or their trading. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a review. This is a fantastic way to help us get better. We don't want to just be better businessmen, better at trading. We want to be better podcast hosts as well. So always point out our flaws in ways in which we can get better in the production of this Info Boom podcast. We greatly appreciate it. In our next episode, we'll explore another fascinating topic, of which I'm not sure right now sitting here. So I won't inform you on a potential next topic. But until then, keep building those routines, keep growing, and remember, consistency isn't just a buzzword. It's the foundation for everything else. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you in the next episode.